Hello, BookTube. We're continuing my library tour. We're on a nice, even level here. No need for a footstool, no need for squatting on the ground. But we still have caulking. Lots and lots of caulking. So let's deal with the first of those. This is a great old book by Walter Rowland. This was published in 1900. This was published in 1900, over 100 years ago. And this is Among the Great Masters of Literature. A very popular kind of book in its day, where the author just goes, the subtitle I think is Scenes from the Great Authors' Lives, just trots you through some basic Wikipedia type stuff about the stereotypical canonical authors, everybody from Sappho and Virgil all the way to Diderot. Very entertaining stuff. You're not going to learn anything. If you know anything about these authors, you're not going to learn anything new, and certainly none of it is biographically critical. But it's great to see, and in addition to being heartfelt, it's also great to see, the general well-read reader's opinion of those figures 120 years ago. Then we have Essays Critical and Literary by Matthew Arnold. We've already seen a Matthew Arnold volume in this library tour. And this, of course, does not belong here. This belongs, in the earlier bookcase that we saw. This is a great old volume. This belongs in the earlier bookcase that we saw of literary stuff, of literary writing, and I'm pretty sure this next one does too. Yeah, this is volume 1 of pretty much the same series. I got these at W.B. Clark's a long, long time ago. I don't remember how many volumes were in this series. I wish I had them all. This is the same series. This is Literary Essays of Walter Bagehot. And this is only volume 1. I think there are 3 volumes. I only have volume 1. So sooner or later, the brattle will provide. But I love them. They're in both cases, Arnold and Bagehot. They're both fantastic. Just fantastic to read about these canonical literary figures. Then we have classic of another kind. There's a sub-genre of bird books of people who lived with owls in one way or another. Either invited them into their home or had an owl that sort of adopted them in the wild. And this is the latter. This is Bern Heinrich's book, One Man's Owl, in which he writes about his family and his life and all the animals that he did take into his home. But in the midst of all of that, there is an owl who just sort of lived in and around the little country shack and was clearly affectionate, clearly recognized everyone in the family. He wasn't a domesticated bird in any way. Just wonderful. Heinrich is fantastic anyway. He's just fantastic anyway. We've already seen him at least a couple of times in this library tour, most famously for Ravens in Winter, his masterpiece, Ravens in Winter. This is a book of a very different kind, but I have a big soft spot for books about people who live with owls. So then we go to the shelf proper now that we're done with the caulking, and we have this big, beautiful edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Just a big, lovely old thing that I prefer. I have Leaves of Grass in a critical edition, and I have Leaves of Grass in the Penguin Classic. But when it's a big, an important, beautiful book, something that you go back to over and over again, I also like to have my favorite pretty edition, my favorite nice edition, and this is that edition. So it's nice. The poems sit really big and generously on the page. Just it works for me better if I'm needing to go to find something in Whitman scholarship or Whitman footnote or some particular line in Leaves of Grass that the internet doesn't provide. I will go straight away to my Penguin Classic. But if I want to just spend an hour in the afternoon or 2 hours reading and savoring, then I go to this book. I go to this volume. That's incredibly wasteful, but all book people will understand. So, oh, great. This is Everett Fox's translation of the first 5 books of Moses. The 5 books of Moses. Look at the size of that thing. This is gorgeous. It is totally annotated. That's the main reason that I go for it. But it's also very much intends to blow the dust off the old King James version and give you the 5 books of Moses, give you them in a newer style sound, something maybe closer to what anything like the original hearers would have heard. I love this sort of thing. I have a number of different Old and New Testaments where the translator's goal is specifically that, specifically to discomfort you. I think that's very valuable. And of course, the notes, these books always bristle with notes, and I love that. I learn something all the time from those. And then right next to that, oh, look at this. Right next to that is the Skeptics Annotated Bible. This is an invaluable tool. It's an invaluable thing for anybody, not just skeptics, but it goes through the Bible, the King James Bible, the whole of it, and gives you marginalia, catcalling, finding factual errors, finding inconsistencies, finding mistranslations, noting all of them, or at least a great number of them, all throughout the Bible, so that you don't have to worry that you're misremembering something. So if you go to the book of Judges and you see some sort of thing and you're reading it and you're thinking, isn't there a problem with that? Don't I remember there being a problem with that historically? You can go to the Skeptics Annotated Bible and find it right away if you know where to find it in the Bible. And it's also a fun book. It's a great deal of fun. But it's important in one way, and not so much important for me anymore, but once upon a time, a book like this would have been vital for me, because there's still a large number of Christians in the United States who believe that none of those annotations are right. That the Bible is divinely inspired by a supernatural being and it has no errors. And there's a kind of schoolboy gotcha fun in this, but the part of it that really works for me is the joy of exegesis. In order to write these things and catch these details, the people who compiled the Skeptics Annotated Bible had to be incredibly biblically literate, and that's wonderful to see in any context, right side by side with the Everett Fox. They're wonderful in both contexts. Okay, then we have these Book of the Month Club editions of Stephen Jay Gould. I want all of Stephen Jay Gould in this format. Right, I have Bully for Brontosaurus. These are collections of the natural history essays that he did for Natural History magazine forever and ever, for years and years and years. He did a monthly column for them. And that's what these things are. I have Bully for Brontosaurus, I have the Flamingo's Smile, and I have Hen's Teeth and Horse's Toes and the Panda's Thumb. And I have them all in this smaller Norton Book Club edition. They're all these uniform things. And I want all the others in that format. I don't want paperbacks. And I don't want the taller hardcovers. I want them all in this size. I know they all were made this size. And the one that I really want is Dinosaur in a Haystack. That's one of my favorite of all of these collections. And I've had it many times in trade paperback and in a larger hardcover, but I want it in this size. And for this room, I want it in this size. To read it, I'll take it in any way you can, but this room is special. This room is the books that I love. And then there's this next one, the last one for this shelf, which is Philip Lopate, The Art of the Personal Essay. One of the greatest essay collections that exists. I have a big soft spot for essay collections, and I have quite a few of them, and I've gone through quite a few, even the ones I don't have. And this one is just terrific, just fantastic. Belongs on a short shelf. I don't know, we've probably encountered essay collections during this library tour already, and we will in the future. But this one takes pride of place for me as one of the very best ones. So, all right, so that does it. That is this shelf. Wow, that was fast. They won't all be. For instance, I noticed in the next one there's tons and tons of caulking, tons and tons of stacking and double stacking. That is very, very bad. So we'll deal with that when we get to it. But in the meantime, I'll just have the freedom to wrap this up. So I'll conclude here, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.